Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy 420, where today we're going to be discussing a massive trade that just went down in the universe of the NFL, and that being obviously Antonio Brown being traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Oakland Raiders for a third and a fifth round pick. In every trade, there's going to be some immediate perceptions of winners and losers, and today I'll be bringing you just that. And I'll start with the winners, first of which being, in my opinion, the Oakland Raiders. Obviously, they got Antonio Brown being a generational talent, one of the best receivers in our league the past few years for only a third and a fifth round pick, which in my opinion is really good value. But that being said, I think it's more important the vote of confidence it gives in Derek Carr and their future at the quarterback position. Obviously, he was picked in 2014 in the second round, had a rookie year where the Raiders had a 3-13 record but still had 9 more touchdowns and interceptions. Then in 2015 had a 7-9 improvement of record, and then a 32 touchdown to 13 interception season with a 91 quarterback rating. And then the unreal 2016 happened. 12-3 record for the Raiders, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 96.7 quarterback rating. Everything was hitting on all cylinders. Sky high expectations for 2017. Obviously, dipped a little bit. 6-9 record. Disappointment. But still, 22 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. 9 more touchdowns thrown than interceptions. 86.4 quarterback rating. Then 2018, last year, John Gruden hired, tons of roster turnover, 4-12 year. But that being said, still a very efficient 19 touchdown, 10 interception, 93.9 quarterback rating season. So all this being said, what does that tell me? They currently have the 7th most cap space in the league and 4 first rounders in the next 2 years. So they're going to build around that core with Derek Carr. Obviously, in this year, they're not going to pick Kyler Murray and move up. They're going to not be able to hit Bosa at 2. I believe that'll leave them in a position to either trade to a team wanting to move up with Haskins or just pick Quinnen Williams if they want. But I just think all these moves signify that they're not going to select a quarterback in the draft. Derek Carr is still 27 years old. Get Antonio Brown in now. Get a couple of pieces through the draft and free agency. Show improvement. You don't have to light the world on fire. Just show improvement on the record, Derek Carr. Get the ball rolling for Vegas and be rolling then. Obviously, with their division, Kansas City and the LA Chargers being there, that's not looking too hot this year. So they're not with this move, it's not necessarily giving up, giving Derek Carr a chance for this year to prove that he's still their franchise player going forward, and I have a feeling that he'll do that. He's proven he's a great to good NFL quarterback if he can stay healthy, and I think the Raiders should buy into him. He's very efficient and young, and those players are hard to come by in the NFL. So I really like this trade for the future of the Raiders, actually. I also like this trade for Antonio Brown, the real-life player. He got what he wanted, and I always like it for players' performance on the field when they get what he wants. And he's going to be happy. He's moved to a team that he wanted, nixed a trade to a team that he didn't want. So he's where he wants to be in Oakland and not Pittsburgh. So he's an on-the-field gamer. He's known for keeping his body in shape. One of the hardest workers in the history of the NFL, always posting Instagram videos, always keeping his body going. So even though he's hitting his age 30, I think he's going to be a healthy 30. He's going to have incentive to beast for his new team. He just got paid, so he's going to be making a lot of money. I just think that it's a really good situation for him in terms of what he wants. Not every player needs to be on a Super Bowl contender. Maybe he feels the Raiders have a bright future with those picks, that cap space, a young quarterback that he believes in. So like I said, it might be perceived that he went from a playoff team to a loser, but maybe he doesn't perceive it that way and he got what he wanted. So good for AB, and I hope he does well in Oakland. I think there are two obvious losers to this trade, which I do need to mention. The first being the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obvious huge losers in this offseason, in my opinion, no matter what. You lost Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell in one offseason, which I don't think has ever happened in my lifetime in the NFL. Maybe it's happened in the history that a team has lost two of the best players at skill positions, but not that I can remember. They only got a third and a fifth round pick. Maybe they'll get some compensatory picks for Le'Veon Bell leaving. I'm not sure the ramifications of that, but they're not going to be getting insane value in terms of players or draft picks as of right now. And in my opinion, they're out of Super Bowl contention and probably not playoff winners anymore in that division. Browns, obviously, an up-and-coming team. Ravens, I still like. Maybe the Bengals surprise next year. But at the very least, that division is wide open. And I don't think I would predict the Steelers to be the third best team in that league going forward. So it didn't have to be this way. Think Oklahoma City and James Harden. They could have just paid Le'Veon Bell last year. Antonio Brown would still be happy. And they could have both of those guys and be contending for a Super Bowl. It's just they wanted to stand pat as their franchise way, which I'm not going to blame them for, but I am going to blame them for because they're not going to be contending for a Super Bowl, which I believe they should be. And every franchise goes through a rebuild. With the Patriots and Steelers, we sort of believe they're immune to that because they've been making the playoffs for such a long time. We think about Pete Carroll, USC, Nebraska football, Cavaliers basketball when LeBron James is there and leaves. I just think that this is finally going to be the time where the Steelers probably have a down year this year. Ben talks about retiring either this offseason or the next offseason, and the Steelers are going to be looking to rebuild soon, in my opinion. So I still think they have a decent team for next year. Maybe they do win that division and surprise, but I don't think Ben's going to be lasting that long, and they're going to have to make some big moves in the draft and free agency to recoup all that lost value. Finally, we obviously have to mention Antonio Brown in terms of fantasy. Obviously, I'm not going to predict he's going to lead the league in touchdowns, and he did lead the league tied with Tyreek Hill in terms of 40-yard touchdowns. He had very good chemistry on the field with Ben Roethlisberger. I'm not going to discount that, and his fantasy value is going to take a hit. That being said, like I mentioned, he's still a top 10 wide receiver for me when I look at the names. I do like Derek Carr, like I said, as a quarterback. He might even lead the league in targets this year because it's going to be him. Jordy Nelson, Jared Cook might be gone. Doug Martin, Marshawn Lynch, who knows in the backfield. It's just going to be Antonio Brown all day long. When Derek Carr is not sure, he's just going to throw it to Antonio Brown. I wouldn't be surprised if he led the league in targets. And honestly, a top wide receiver for performance isn't out of the realm for him if he really shows out and maybe Derek Carr just throws him the ball all the time and he breaks those double teams and maybe this offseason they get help. Who knows? This offseason is going to be really important for them to surround him with some immediate pieces if possible. And if so, that could boost his fantasy value. So as of right now, I see him as a top 10 player with upside. But that being said, I would say it would take an immediate hit, and I wouldn't predict him to finish in the top 5. So also better than Buffalo and Josh Allen in the cold weather, not where he's wanting to be throwing him the ball. So I wouldn't predict him to be in the top 5. I'd predict him in the top 10. But I think he's going to have upside, and I think that that's around where he's going to be drafted, and I'm not going to be shying away from him. So that's my video today, guys. I really appreciate you watching. Hopefully you can drop me a like and a sub, and I'll talk to you tomorrow with another video. I look forward to it, and I hope you guys all have a great day. Take it easy.